What is up, guys? Doing another one down kooky build, and today we're taking a look at Rust, the biker of the Payday gang, because that is a role for someone to have in a gang, absolutely 100%. Alright, so first off, we're looking at the breaker shotgun, which came with the, I can't remember if that came with the Rust character pack, or if that came with, yes, it came with the character pack. The CR-805B submachine gun, which came with the Biker Heist DLC. The chain whip, which came with Rust. The throwing axe, I don't remember. Okay, that was part of the Biker DLC. Using the Biker perk deck. Two-piece suit, first aid kit, ammo pack, secondary. Let's go ahead and take a look at the skills that I'm using. Of course, I have uppers aced. Shotgun skills, including overkill aced. We'll discuss that in the video, or in the gameplay rather. Technically this is a video. Shotgun not aced to deal with shields. Extra lead ace so that I could pack a secondary ammo bag that actually had the one of the really good ammo bags, of course. And then jack of all trades ace so I could bring the ammo bags because the breaker is not terribly ammo efficient. Shockproof, of course. Unseen strike for the extra killing power, and nothing in the fugitive tree. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a quick peek at, well, at this train wreck of a build, to be quite honest with you. So, just as a quick aside, a very important thing when trying to make an effective build, particularly on one down, not only centers around the perk deck that you use, but also your weapon choice. You know, your weapon choice is very important. I talk about this a bit in the, one down tips, weapons video that I did a while back or whatever. Regardless, certain types of weapon combinations are more effective than others, as well as depending on, the very weapon you pick and so on and so forth. So I won't get into that, but this plays an important role in why this particular build just wasn't as effective as I would have liked it to be. So there are a few things kind of going wrong for this build, and we'll break them into, like two major components, I guess. One is the fact that, well, I'm running Biker. First and foremost, Biker is kind of just really not a great perk deck, period. I mean, it suffers from bad numbers. It's more of a team-oriented perk deck, although it benefits you more than it does your teammates. So this is, this would be more effective if you were playing with a team. However, since I'm doing it solo, I'm not gaining the full benefits from that, I suppose. However, even in the event that you were playing with teammates, the effectivity of the Biker perk deck just isn't very well showcased. One of the things it does have going for it is the really good armor gating that you do. As far as I mean, there's like it can only occur 10 times in 15 seconds, but basically, within a 15-second window, 10 times you can instantly get armor back when you kill an enemy. So if you killed an enemy and then within a half second killed another enemy, you'd instantly get your armor back. So in terms of that, it's pretty good for armor gating in that regards. However, the cooldown hurts it to some degree. I'm sure it'd be more noticeable with teammates. However, one of the biggest issues that this perk deck has is it has next to no survivability when it comes to increased health or anything of that nature. You do get some health regen, but it's so minimal and so negligible that it's almost laughable. Like I said, the armor gating aspect of it is actually really, really cool. However, just the fact that the health regen is so puny, even though you're supposed to get boosted health, per kill when your health is lower, it really doesn't make that big of a dent. I haven't extensively tested this with teammates on one down, to be quite honest with you. I don't really want to, just because I have almost no fun playing with this perk deck. It's just not fun at all. Kind of the second component was my weapon combination. Now, both of the weapons that I'm using in tandem, actually the three weapons that I'm using in tandem are all really good. The throwing axes, the breaker, and the submachine gun that I'm using, the CR-805B, or CQ-805B, whatever. Regardless. The breaker is on judge levels in terms of damage, however it's also in judge levels in terms of ammo pickup. So similar to the judge, if you're trying to use it as your primary weapon without like fully loaded aced or anything like that, you're really going to be hurting for ammo. Even if you are using fully loaded aced, you're still going to be hurting for ammo quite a bit. Also, I probably should have prefaced this at the start of this particular gameplay video. However, I'm still going to put it in the title because there's going to be a surprise thing, or not really a surprise thing, but there's going to be a secondary bit after this. I'm going to do a separate video. Not really a separate video, but it's going to be like a 2-in-1 video. Anyway, you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. Regardless, this particular run won't be no downs. But we'll get to the good old no down business after this little segment. So anyway, the breaker is good, but very ammo inefficient, so I had to bring a ammo bag secondary. The submachine gun is really good, however, I didn't have a very effective way to deal with shields in the sense that I had to shoot them with the breaker in order to push them back, or use my melee, but my melee was the chain, and it's like stupidly slow and has very little range, which is stupid because it's a freaking chain. But anyway, so trying to use the breaker to kill shields was a kind of a pain in the butt. However, one interesting thing to note was that the breaker just was really effective at, killing things. You could one-shot heavy swats in the head with overkill active and stuff like that, even if Unseen Strike wasn't going for me. In all honesty, the Unseen Strike was really used more for killing the dozers, for killing dozers whenever they'd get right up on me, and also for like body shots on shields, hoping that I could kill them when they stumble. I still had a bit of trouble trying to how would you say? Shield just perfectly tanked that throwing axe. I just completely and utterly lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. Oh, getting body shots on shields, and shields get stuck in that weird pose whenever they get shot sometimes, and their shield's sticking through their body. I got the shotgun shot on that enemy in the hallway so I could get overkill active, so I could, like, you freaking eradicate dozers when you have overkill active, like overkill ace active, and then like any sort of crits. I mean, you just demolish dozers, and it feels so awesome. It's definitely something I should integrate into a suited Kingpin build for no down runs, regardless. So breaker's just really ammo inefficient, and that's its big drawback. Is it's just it does not have really great ammo pickup. Biker itself just really has no survivability. There's no cushion. The health regen is laughable. The armor gating is kind of meh. I mean, it's good, but due to the nature of the way the cooldown works, it's hard to stay consistent with it because it's based on the number of kills you get. So I kind of got screwed right there, like really bad. Just shield snuck up behind me and then picked me up, and the guy just shot me. And so, yeah, since that build was terrible, I decided to just go ahead and make a separate build that still used Biker, and of course Rust as the character, and see how much better I could perform. So let's go ahead and look what we're packing. Pack in a stakeout shotgun, arbiter grenade launcher, electric brass knuckles, throwing knife, two-piece suit, first aid kits. We'll go ahead and look at the mods I'm using real quick on the guns. I'm using triple aught buckshot, long barrel suppressor, stability modifier, auto fire mod, LED combo, the drum mag, and the surgeon sight. And then for the arbiter, I'm using the long barrel, the team boost modifier, I guess, and the military red dot sight. Okay, we'll go ahead and look at the build. Of course, uppers again. This time I picked up overkill aced, pretty much for no other reason than being able to swap my weapons quickly, which is, I found, not exactly entirely necessary, but it was really helpful running Biker. And then just some kind of quality of life stuff here, and Enforcer, Jack of all trades, Drill Sergeant, so I could get done faster. Dire Need was actually pretty good, especially combined with the armor gating from Biker. Of course, Unseen Strike and Martial Arts is a throwaway point. So let's go ahead and look at the new and improved build and some more gameplay, shall we? So, clearly the first setup of weapons, it was serving me more or less fine. it just wasn't extremely reliable, and you couldn't get cluster kills super well, which helps Biker a bit more. If you can kill like clusters of enemies with like a grenade launcher or whatever, you can usually proc a lot of like health or armor regen. The armor regen is less important because of, you know, the purposes of gating, but getting, you know, larger amounts of health back was pretty nice. However, it was still hard to, you know, get appropriate clusters of enemies together and kill them with the grenade launcher really reliably. This perk deck, all in all, this perk deck still sucks, even when I use this build. However, I am successful in my no downs, you know, no jokers, blah 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 blah. This weapon setup was a bit better. I did have Dire Need aced, which was good simply because it, whenever my armor broke at any point in time due to the armor gating nature with Biker, it actually allowed me to kind of stay in the fight a bit longer if I had a choke point that the enemies would have to throttle through, so I could just open up on them with my shotgun. Even if my armor broke, if I got a kill on somebody fast enough before, you know, they basically two-shot me, I would be able to, in essence, shoot an enemy, and then they would go, you know, start falling over, and so were their friends if the, you know, spray shots hit them or whatever. And then when everyone was, you know, in the midst of stumbling, even if I'm getting hit by, you know, spray fire or side fire or whatever, I'm still going to be getting, ideally, armor back from killing the enemies while they're falling over. So Dire Need Ace actually has its nice uses. More so for, the Ace is a lot better than the basic, simply because you can't really get good effects out of just the basic. Of course, with shotguns, it sends enemies into the heavy hurt animation a lot anyway. However, even medics are lightly affected by Dire Need, which is really nice considering that medics otherwise don't really show any sort of hurt animations whatsoever other than light hurt, which is, for all practical purposes, virtually unnoticeable. You can go look at the long guide if you want to know more about, like, enemy hurt animations. It's not really that big of a deal. Basically, the heavy hurt is just when an enemy like falls over or they dive out, or not really when they dive out of the way, but when they fall over after you shoot them and it takes them a few seconds to get up. So Dire Need just will automatically trigger the heavy hurt animation, which is pretty nice. Here I was trying to, you know, cluster kill those guys. Didn't work quite like I wanted, but that's alright. This weapon setup did a bit better, had more kill power overall. Could take care of groups of enemies, which is really important, you know, when you're doing this without any sort of help whatsoever from, whether it be from AI or from converts or whatever. So at the end of the day, Biker really just suffers pretty heavily from the numbers dilemma, I guess, as I'm gonna start lovingly referring to it as. The number dilemma that so many other perk decks have, where concepts are good but the numbers aren't there to support its effectiveness. And like I was stating in the other gameplay, the effectiveness of this might be increased to some degree if you have, you know, teammates. However, I really don't think it would be that much different. In order to get maximum effectiveness, you would just need to completely obliterate everything faster than it could kill you. But if you're at the point where you can kill everything faster than it would kill you, just in order to survive, you would be better off running one of the better perk decks, which would allow you to, you know, kill everything as fast as it can kill you, if not faster, and give you survivability just in case you can't. So, Biker's just... I'm really thinking Biker's like one of the... It's down there with probably some of the worst perk decks, honestly. I've been experimenting with some other perk decks, you know, because I have to do more of these character videos. And I think for some of the quote-unquote worst perk decks, where it's harder to make them work properly with, you know, a devoted character-themed build, I'm still going to do, like, 2 videos in one. So maybe for things like, well, it'll just depend. I'll see how I'm feeling when I do certain videos and things like that. But I'll probably do, you know, one build that's kind of the themed build, you know, using the characters' themed weapons and stuff like that. And then I'll go back with what I would consider a better build, actually centered around trying to use the perk deck effectively, as opposed to just making it themed, and, you know, we'll see how that goes. Overall, I was having kind of a hard time figuring out exactly what I needed to do to make this perk deck more effective. just because ultimately it's just not effective. And like I said, the armor gating is useful, but the weird cooldowns that on the perk deck kind of prevent it from being a bit better. Things that I think could help it. Let's see. Well, some increased numbers would help it for 1 down, which probably won't happen just because I know Overkill really doesn't like fudging with numbers too much because it messes up the balance on lower difficulties, which is understandable, you know. I don't know how useful Biker is on lower difficulties. I would imagine it's still not too terribly useful. It might be more useful with actual armor, but on lower difficulties with armor, but on 1 down it's still not going to be very effective with armor because even with ICTV and, you know, armor increasing skills, you're still going to get like your armor's still going to be like one shot by heavy SWAT units, so it's really not going to make that big of a difference at all. But some sort of extra effect. Well, goodness gracious, let's see. Maybe putting the armor regen on kill and health regen on hit. So basically you would make it like the weird child of Anarchist and Grinder. Because if you got, you know, even if it was the same amount of health regen, if you got the health regen on hit, you wouldn't have to change anything else other than that, I think. Like the cooldowns and the whole 9 yards. You'd have to make the cooldowns for the health and the armor separate, though, just to get, you know, more effectiveness out of it. But make the armor regen on kill so it's not totally busted. And then have the health regen on hit. And I think it would be quite a bit better. Do I think it would be quote-unquote good? Well, no. But it'd probably be closer to the level of something like... It'd probably be closer to the level of Grinder and like Sociopath and things like that. Currently I kind of classify the perk decks in 3 different... Yeah, I'd say 3. Like 3 different categories. There are the best perk decks, you know, the top 5 that I did a video really recently about. And then there's... This is in terms of 1 down, of course. I probably should have prefaced with that. But there are perk decks that are really useful for 1 down. You know, the top 5 perk decks that you would always pretty much want to use in a 1 down thing. There's like the, I guess the B tier, kind of, where you can use them, but it's going to take a lot more work. It's going to take a far more dedicated build, and it's just not going to be as good, even under optimal circumstances. And then there's trash tier, where you just shouldn't use these perk decks at all. And currently, I think I'm going to put Biker down in trash tier. It's pretty bad, honestly. But anyway, guys, as usual, thank you guys so much for watching.